totally quiet.
We'll just get the bells. If we have background music, it'll have to be real low so it doesn't overwhelm our conversation.
So did you ever see Decline of Western Civilization 2?
No, I haven't seen that, Steve. Is that a good movie?
I've seen the History of the World Part 1.
The Metal Years? Well, they did a lot of interview stuff on there. It was pretty cool. And the interviewer wasn't on camera.
Oh.
So
that's neat.
That's something that is a possibility. So, you know.
Good. That's what I'll do. I'll sit over here in a chair and relax.
Did you guys see History of the World Part 1?
I mean, if you want to be, that's fine. But
That's good. We'll do this.
I just thought it was kind of cool because you just see them.
Yeah.
And you know, you could hear their voice fine. You know, the unknown voice. Did you write out some questions?
Well, I wrote them out and put them in my head.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Is it running?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Steve Schulte, you're one of Redmath's founding members, aren't you?
Yeah. Yes.
How many years have you been playing guitar?
Since I was like 12 years old. So it's
So
been,
now that you're 21, it's been about 9 years,
It's been
right?
quite a while, yeah.
Ever since he's been 18.
Yeah, I started when I was 35, actually.
No, actually 80.
So anyway, you've been playing for many years now.
Yeah, about 40 years.
What kind of music did you start out playing?
Yeah, he's 250
I've
now.
been playing about 40 years, I guess, yeah. I'm sorry?
What kind of music did you start out playing?
Just bad stuff, you know. Just the easy chord stuff. Lots of easy chord stuff.
He used to play with Metallica.
When did you start writing songs?
Oh, not until about 5-6 years ago, around there. We wanted to write songs in high school, but nobody wanted to do that, so nothing ever happened.
Well, that was probably your listenership too. They wanted to hear popular things, and they probably didn't want to hear a lot of original work when they did that.
Yeah, they wanted to hear other stuff.
What about the lyrics? Now, you write most of the lyrics, don't you?
Well, I write a lot of them.
Well, that's being
I write
very
all
honest.
the bad lyrics.
Now, do you ever write any of the songs with anyone else in the band?
Oh yeah, we usually write sort of together.
So it's really a group effort.
Yeah, pretty much.
You might have some
Somebody
lyrics.
has an idea, and then we go with it.
Well, that works out pretty well. And then who usually works the music in with the lyrics or the concepts?
Oh,
Just a group sort of thing? or-
it's a group thing. It really is. We all throw in our parts. You know, I mean, sometimes it's this idea or that idea that either Mike or I would come up, or Chris, or Paul. But then we always go with it from there and write it, you know, as a group usually, most of the time.
Well, that's what's interesting about Redmath, because most of your listeners here in Cincinnati anyway have always given you a lot of credit for having very unusual music, very unique music. That's all your own, and it really can't be cast in any particular kind of music.
Definitely not.
We've also heard your music referred to by some as music for tortured souls or of tortured souls, but then others find your music very provocative and very entertaining.
Well, I think provocative, tortured souls do prefer our music, yes. Definitely.
Well, that's well said. Where do you, as a part of Redmath, where would you like to see the band go in the next few years?
All around the world a couple times.
Cover of Rolling Stone,
No.
feature in Musician Magazine,
No,
just low-key around the world tours and sell a lot of records.
Yeah.
Just making
So,
money, that's all.
I want to play out though. I want to play around. I want to play Japan.
Now, you've already played New York City.
They'd love us in Japan.
They let you in Japan?
They would. I know they would.
They think he's a reincarnation of Buddha.
They would love me.
So, there is some appeal then in the Eastern culture for Redmath.
I think so, yeah.
They might be waiting for you.
Baby appeal.
Maybe appeal?
Hey, Mr. Interviewer, you know one more thing. The band was originally formed by the Terminator,
Okay.
but Steve, knocked him out of the band.
Is that Arnold?
Now he plays
is that-
Tony in movies.
Is that Arnold Schwarzenegger?
So is it true then that you're Arnold Schwarzenegger on a diet?
Well, I lost a lot of weight, yeah.
You've really done well. Right? You've changed your way of speaking and your appearance quite a bit.
Yeah.
Good job. What kind of guitar do you play?
I don't pump as much as I used to.
Well, that's okay. There's a lot of string plucking you have to do instead.
What kind of guitar is this?
This looks like a classic Fender here.
No, not at all.
Not at all?
No. It's a rock guitar. It's a Hammond guitar. I love this guitar. This is no particular brand of guitar.
So is it true that
It's
if
put together.
if you have a special guitar like that, you develop a special feel, sort of like B.B. King and Lucille, where you can trust your guitar and know that your instrument will get you through?
Yeah. Well, you have to love your guitar. You've got to know your guitar.
So we should see bumper stickers, treat your guitar well. You never know.
Well, I beat it up a little bit, but I love it too. Just like anything, you know.
Women too.
It's
I
a love-hate
suppose.
thing,
I
I guess.
see. What about, now when Redmath started, were you and who else in the band were some of the original members?
Mike and I.
Mike Davis?
Simeon. Get away. Get away. Kill. Yes, Mike and I started the band. And then came Paul.
So when you guys started out, had you been playing with other groups?
Yeah. Yeah, we played with lots of groups that were really bad.
Just jamming around together with bad groups?
Yeah, neither of us could get anything happening serious.
Did you guys know each other when you were younger?
High school.
So you both were musicians then, and you were aware of each other as musicians.
Yeah. We were like, they knew we played guitar in high school, and so we were special guys. We would jam. We jammed at a party once. And it was kind of fun.
They liked it a lot.
So that was the beginning of our relationship. At a party one night, we played together. They loved us, and that was the beginning. In high school.
So then later you guys got together after playing with some other groups and decided to start your own?
Well, yeah, it came much later. It wasn't right out of high school at all.
So you had a number of years to mature each in your own musical ways and get a lot of other experience.
Yeah, I was brainwashed in high school.
Well, I think most of us were too.
So I had to take a break for a while and figure out how to play music, real music, real music.
So once you started playing real music, then you teamed up with Mike Davis.
And a drum machine. And yeah, and then came Paul.
How did Paul happen to come in? Did you feel like you needed a vocalist, or Paul was available and you liked how he sang? Or
Paul's just great, man. Paul was in another band that was really good. And
yeah, I seem to
he
remember
liked
that.
our
Junta?
songs. He liked our songs. What?
Was it Junta?
Junta.
Junta. So he was in Junta, and then he heard your music and he liked it a lot.
Yeah, he liked our songs, and he wanted to sing songs like ours. And so they kind of fell apart, and we grabbed him. Everybody said, "Don't get Paul in your band," and that's true.
And you got him anyway.
Our best friends, don't get Paul in the band. Don't do it.
Well, it's a good thing you guys did, because Paul certainly got a very unique quality to his voice, and a very special.
Yeah, that's what made me want to get him in the band. When everybody said don't do it, you know you got to do it.
You're absolutely right about that.
Just like life.
So when you were told that Paul wouldn't be a good member, you went ahead and took him anyway.
Well, they didn't say it wouldn't be a good member. They just said don't get him in the band. But he's too cool.
So not only did he get in the band, but Paul now is an integral part of the band. It's sort of the
Well, we're blood. Yeah, we're
fortune.
all married.
You can tell that if anyone's really heard Redmath music, they know that there's some very special guitar qualities and also very special vocals that blend together to make a very unique mixture. It's sort of like a special recipe where there are certain very special parts that make the best.
Who were past members of the band?
We had a bass player that is no longer with us.
Who?
Paul Brook.
So Paul Brook then
Paul was great.
Okay, so after you guys got together with you and Mike,
Anybody else
Paul,
in the band?
Yeah, we had a few other people come and go.
Caesar?
But Mike and Paul and I seem to be the
constant members.
yeah, the nucleus. And our photographer Nicholaus. Actually, we don't write it. We don't write any of our songs. I live with a photographer named Nicholaus, and she pretty much controls what we play. She just tells us what to play, and we play.
So she executes the playlist. What are the penalties for not playing what Nicholaus advises?
Well, she doesn't feed me. She doesn't buy us alcohol.
You look pretty emaciated, and you certainly don't seem like you're drinking right now, so it's time to
I know.
close.
So she likes us to play death music.
Death music?
Yeah.
Sounds like some...
She's a devil baby.
A devil baby.
She's the devil baby.
Okay, we'll stop here and come back. Yeah, we got the devil baby on record.
I think we'll be okay, Brian. I might need your help though, so stand by.
Do they have call waiting here, Dad?
Do you want to do it then?
Scott.
I don't know. What is she mean or what?
No, I said, do they have call waiting here?
I don't know if they do or not. I think they might.
Well, no, I haven't talked to you. Well, it sounds like maybe you should do that first. That's what I mean. So we might as well just do this. No, not at all. Chris is, but Paul's doing his at home in his place. And you have an option to do yours at Paul's or at your place, whichever you prefer. Just go to Paul's house. Or we can call it or something. Okay? Yeah.
Steve Schulte, founding member of Redmath. Steve, what can you tell us about the music? What do you enjoy about it, or what do you like about Redmath music?
Oh, I'd love to play Redmath music.
Just Redmath music.
Well, that's all we play. I don't know. I think we rock out. And also I think we have some, I think what I like about playing our music is, I think we have some really good songs. And I like our songs.
Well, there seems to be a special quality that all of your songs have with all of your members in the band. In other words, it seems that there's a lot of energy that gets generated from all of you people. You're all very talented. I understand a lot of you are artists as well as musicians. Musician being an art itself too.
Yeah, that's probably not very popular right now. But Yeah. Everyone except for me is fairly artistic. I'm not at all.
You're schooled in the art of living, aren't you?
Yeah. I live, but I'm not an artist.
I've noticed there's a lot of difference from the music when you first started, from the first album, Redmath with Wall of Insects, and some of your other popular songs with your people, and also there's been a lot of change from that to the Prey album, and even now, your music seems to be heading in a new direction.
Yeah, always. We gotta change. Gotta keep changing. So I think we confuse people because we do change a lot, and they probably see us and they go, oh, this is how they are, and then 6 months later they see us again and they're like, is this the same band? You know. So yeah, we change a lot, but yeah, we have our own style that's happening, but we do change a lot, and right now we are definitely a lot different than we were a couple years ago.
Well, I think we'll see tonight on tape even some of the first music you made, one song in particular, Sex, off of your first album, and some of the footage that was from that period when Paul Brook was playing bass and you didn't have a drummer at the time.
Yes.
And we'll see a change from that to November back in 1988 when you did a concert at Bogart's, and then also even to the latest concert you did at Give Peace a Dance, also at Bogart's. There seems to be a lot of change. In fact, I was speaking with one of your fans, a woman from New York City, who has been out of town for the last year, and she was really surprised and refreshed by the change in your music. She said it still had that Redmath quality, but she said it was she thought, more exciting and dynamic sort of music.
Yeah, it is. We rock out. I'm sorry.
You're being bad, Steve.
I know. Yeah, I like to play Redmath.
Well, back when we heard your Redmath music with another member of the band, Gino Valley, Gino seemed to give it a certain quality that it doesn't have anymore. You seem to rock out more now, with more power to your music. While when Gino was with you, you all seemed to meander in some very strange and unusual avenues. And that's not to say that one's better than the other. It's just a different direction.
Yeah, Gino played keyboard, so when Gino left, we definitely put more emphasis on our guitar songs, which tend to rock. But yeah, you know, we try to still be as musical as possible and still, you know, be as powerful as possible.
Well, I think your latest song, at least the latest one I've heard from you, Hot Blood Love, really rocks out. That's a real powerhouse of a song.
It's filthy.
Who wrote that wonderful song?
Well, that was a group thing. It started with the drum beat, I believe, and then Mike and Chris kind of came up with
Hey guys,
some of the stuff.
look out, there's
What?
how do you push pause?
Just leave it run long. You just take it off that orange button. Is your green light on all this time?
Something messed up here.
What happened?
What feel the viewfinder thing?
You hit a date switch by mistake. We don't want that on there. Get rid of that thing.
Ow. Oops, look.
Shit.
Ow.
See that blue thing? If you hit that, it puts all this bullshit in the window about time and date. We don't want that in there because it's ugly. See if we can get rid of it here.
Come on, Brian.
What?
Jeez.
Not my fault. Mine's right next to it.
Get
Well,
rid of that
mister,
piece of
I can
shit.
do that.
See how we can get rid of this.
Me and
thing.
Scott will train to play.
Put your hand up there, zoom in and out. Focus on Steve, and that's it. Okay?
Hey man, don't worry, man.
It's better to admit you're learning something new and take it easy and do it right instead of trying to know it too much and then
Hey man, I know it all.
we knew it all when we were
Are we running?
I think so. I believe so.
Yep, we're running.
Hot Blood Love.
Hot Blood Love.
Hot Blood Love. Yeah. So then, drum beat, Mike and Chris. Then I wrote the lyrics. They're disgusting. And then I came up with like a nice little groove thing at the end. It's a great song.
Really fits well.
It's
Everyone's
disgusting.
excited about it. You just rock them
I
out.
love that song.
Seems like pure unadulterated sexual passion or something.
Yeah. Lust and desire.
Seems like a lot of songs of yours have lust and desire in them.
Yeah, that's because I'm a lustful man.
We've heard it. Steve Schulte is a lustful man.
Yeah. A man of desire.
Lust for life.
Well, you know, I like to write about a lot of things, and that's one thing that crosses my mind sometimes.
I've noticed a lot of your songs are written either about feelings like love and passion, or else feelings of rejection, or the other side of love too. And one of your songs, Spit seems to be especially powerful.
Yeah,
It almost seems like
that's
it
a
was written.
broken heart song.
Is that a real broken heart song?
Yeah. Yeah. That was a song of hate. I don't know. That's a fun song.
Steve, you couldn't hate. You're smiling right now. How could a guy like you so nice have harbor hatred in his
His
heart?
hatred's fun.
Yeah. Well, it's just passion, you know. Passionate hate, passionate love.
What about Wall of Insects? Now, it's an
Passionate
interesting
music.
song too that came out on one of your first albums.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool tune. We still do that
How about the edit?
sometimes. The edit's history.
That's gone away.
We write them and then we dump them.
What was the edit?
The edit was about people taking your product, your life value, your everything that you do, and then somebody just takes it and just chops it right up to bits, not thinking about what it really is.
Was
And
it the
not
first
knowing-
song on the album?
and not knowing what's going on. So therefore they edit it. Like when they play songs on the radio, they just kind of cut that part out, cut that part off, and that way it's not very long and they can play more commercials.
Except here we're talking about cutting up lives instead of
Yeah, but that's what they're doing. Yeah, they're cutting up your life. I think music is more sacred than that. It should be.
Well, some of your other songs seem to reflect too how all of you feel about life today. Because life today does have so many complex variables.
Oh yeah, life's different every day, and so therefore we can write different songs every day.
If you listen to Walkin' America off of your latest album, Pray, it seems to say a lot about how people feel about our life in America, what America means.
So this is America, yeah. Yeah, that song's about how lame things are when they could be a lot better. But you know, things aren't always lame, you know. But that song is just about I don't know. The original idea was that it seems like people don't take advantage of freedom when it's available, and also it seems like there's really, you know, it's the big joke about land of the free here in America, and many times it doesn't really seem that way to me. I don't know.
It seems almost like some people think they have freedom, or they have Pepsi or Coke or someone else sell them what freedom is, but that's not real freedom. But a lot of people think that's what it is. It's having a few hours of the day to do what you want to do, and the rest of the time being a slave to whatever it takes to live the lifestyle that you have to
Well,
custom to.
yeah, people do what they want to do, but then there's lots of stuff that you're just not allowed to do, and I don't know why. When it's really not that big of a deal. So, yeah. So this is America. It's a beautiful song. Beautiful song.
What about Chaperone? Is that one of your newer songs also?
Yeah, it's not brand new, but it's a fairly new song.
That seems like another song of love and lust.
The beautiful one, yes. That's also though a broken-hearted song. You know, I could be lying in bed or dying in bed.
It's quite a bit of difference.
And what would you care? Because you wouldn't.
This chair has a messed up back.
So that's a cold-hearted woman then, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's about being in bed alone, and the one that you love has left you, broken your heart, and then you're thinking, you know, you're thinking about what you really like in life, and that's a chaperone.
That's good.
A chaperone, the beautiful one.
Are you working on any songs right now?
Yeah, I'm always working on songs. I don't know, I don't work on songs, so I just work on music. And I write down my feelings. And then when we get together and put songs together, then we just kind of grow from these ideas.
Steve, do you also write poetry?
Well, I write my feelings. And sometimes it's a poetic thing. Poetic. Okay, wait. Edit. You can edit that. Okay, sometimes it's a poetic thing. And sometimes it's just random thoughts.
Sometimes whether they're poetic or random, though, they seem like they have a lyricism and then they wind up being part of a song, or they come into being a song.
Well, they have a song. Most of them are pretty much written in a song style without getting too obnoxious. And try not to follow really any rules.
You seem like you work together well as a group. Do you feel now that everyone's comfortable with each other and they've all...
Yeah, Paul and Mike and I, we've been through a lot together, and as much as we hate it, we just love it too. The love-hate thing.
Well, all of you...
Being in a band and playing, you've got to really like the people that you're doing it with, because if you don't, you might as well just give it up. I mean,
You've developed almost a cult following here in Cincinnati, which is unusual because Cincinnati is not usually one of the first cities you think of when you think of new music. But it's interesting that you have a very strong, very loyal following here.
Well, actually, I don't know about that. We've been through a couple different followings since we change a lot. We've got newer, younger people listening to us. And I think people that were into us a few years ago are probably married by now or something.
So you never see any of the old ones around.
Oh, you do.
Okay, shut it off then. You can't make noises like that or it's going to go right on the recording from the mic up here, okay? If your shoulder hurts, you need to get some kind of shoulder pad or something, okay? Thank you, Ron. You did well. That was just a little break.
I held up beyond endurance, man.
I think we've gotten a good coverage from here, Steve, don't you? Yeah. Let's get Chris next.
Okay, come on, Chris.
We got some good work from you here.
Here's your stuff here.
I'm doing it, man.
Never before has so much of Paraguay's past and present been reported by its media. The things that were said for years by only the most courageous journalists can now be said by just about anybody without fear of reprisals. General Rodriguez has allowed freedom of the press, but the one implicit rule seems to be that they
A few of these movies I hate too. Like
Back to the
Indiana
Future.
Jones.
You mean Back to the Future?
2 and 3, I hated them.
Yeah, 2 and 3.
I don't like Michael J. Fox at all. I don't know why, I just don't. Anyway, they're also coming out with Karate Kid Part 3. That might be okay, I don't know. I have no idea. What else are they coming out with? Star Trek Part 5.
Yeah, I knew that, yeah. I like the light and stuff.
Yeah, we're all right. It's going to be grainy. You don't mind grain, do you?
No.
It's
at all.
cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
It might even be black and white later.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be really neat.
Chris, how long did you play bass guitar before you joined Redmath?
I started playing bass when, I guess I started in about 7th grade. I played guitar before that. I used to sit around and play Elvis Presley songs. I was on to Elvis, so my parents got me a green stamp acoustic guitar when green stamps were real big. Remember green stamps?
Yeah, those were
I
popular.
bought a bunch of books, and so I got my first green stamp guitar when I was like in 3rd or 4th grade. And then I saw a bass, player, and saw him thumping on. I was like, I want to play the bass because I like drums and I like guitar, and bass is kind of like the midway between both because it's rhythmic, but it's also melodic like guitar. So I started playing in about 7th grade. So I guess I've been playing before I joined Redmath. Let's see. 7th grade, how are you in 7th grade? About 13 or 14 or something like that? Is that about right?
What?
7th grade, were you 13 or 14?
They're usually 12 about.
12 or 13. So I started playing Redmath when I was 19 or 20, so I've been playing for about 6 or 7 years. Something like that.
You have a real powerful sound. When you play with Redmath, you can really notice the bass, that it helps to pull everything together.
Okay, yeah, well, the reason I really try to, a lot of times there's a big cliche of bass players are the ones in the background, and that, the bass player is almost obsolete in a lot of bands, and I look at the bass as more of I like people to recognize the bass as a main instrument. I don't like it particularly as a secondary instrument because it is, like I said, it's that gateway between drums and guitar, and it's such a fascinating instrument if it's played nicely, I think, so that I really try to push that aspect. It's I want to be, my little dream is to be the Jimi Hendrix of bass, like the bass player's JimiHendrix or something
You
like
actually
that.
consider the bass the primary guitar. You usually consider the normal guitar the secondary guitar
Right.
of anything.
Right. So,
Do you get involved in writing some of the songs?
yeah, all of us in Redmath, we all have a big hand, and it's a real group collaboration type thing. A lot of bands, there's one predominant songwriter, and then the other members just kind of come and do the thing, where in Redmath it's a real democratic type of thing, where we all get in and I start something up with the drums or something, and then Steve adds his flavor, and Mike adds his flavor, and then Paul weaves a melody in and out on top, like that.
It seems like very special music.
Yeah, I think Redmath has got a definite, distinct, and incredible sound. It's like when we went to New York, it wasn't like we went to New York oh my God, there's a million bands that are blow us away and greater than us. I think we were real special there. I think we're special. We'd be special anywhere. It's not just because we're in Cincinnati we're special, because we're still out of, we're distinct in Cincinnati, where we were distinct in New York too. We played with 4 other bands up at the New Music Seminar last year in New York, and we were just as eclectic, I guess, up there as we are here, I feel.
Hey, what do you do for fun anyway, though?
What do I do for fun? I don't know if we can put too much of that on video. But, fun. Well, actually, playing music is the most fun thing I have. It's the most thrilling. I like to jam a lot. Come down to here when we practice, which is here, and come down and just jam around with whoever on the drums, and just have a good time making songs up as we go. Making little doodads here and there musically. Plus, there's the thing I like to do for fun, but I really don't have the bucks to. It's I like to race cars, but that's kind of illegal with a Ford Escort. So I just gotta go back roads and stuff. I like fast things like that. Fast cars and fast women.
Well, it's like a
typical
dangerous
cliche.
combination.
Yeah.
I noticed you seem to have a lot of admiration for the drums in connection with the bass.
Yeah, drums. I mean, I'm kind of a frustrated drummer myself, you could say, because I play drums too. And again, with the bass and the drums being it's such like a family thing, like a drummer and a bass player have this real special relationship. That it's real kind of it's hard to describe if you've never really experienced it, but being the bottom chord of like a pyramid, like there's a drums and there's a bass, and we start up and everything on top. It's like that real unity, and that's why I'm rolling the drums. Yeah, it's that beat factor.
So you can tell the big change since Redmath's brought a drummer in, as well as since you've been playing bass, and you can tell there's a big change in the music.
Yeah, well, when I first started doing the band, we were still using a drum machine, I guess, for a few months. I guess we used it for about 4 or 5 months, and then we got a drummer, and it was just day and night, because it's really hard to get energy off of something that sits there and blinks, you know? It's like, and just the idea of having drummers is so much more like organic, you know? It's like more of an organic thing. It's really neat. Even if you're playing real kind of high-tech music or whatever, it's still that organic feel and that energy that it's kind of hard to get on the drum machine sometimes. I do like drum machine too. I like drum machine. I think that there's a place for that too. Drum machine's got a real neat thing about it too if it's programmed right. But you know, overall, especially for live, like drum machine for studio is real nice, but especially for live, it's almost like imperative to have a drummer, in my opinion, because there's so much improvisation going on stage. And you make up, and a lot of songs that we've written, that are like fairly new songs, they get more and more written as we're playing them on stage, and that's the idea of using a drummer, and everybody's just making things up as they go along, something like that.
A lot of people have commented that when Gino Valli was playing keyboards, there was a certain quality to the music. It didn't have that elemental quality it has now, that it's more of a hard driving feel right now, and it's more powerful, rather than the subtle music that it was when Gino was playing keyboards and a lot of strange synthesizer things that made a very special mood effect, but seemed to lead around in different areas where the bass and the drum right now help to make it a powerful, hard driving, forceful kind of music.
Right. I mean, I miss the keyboards a lot. I'm a big keyboard head. I mean, I like the music now a lot. But like what you're saying about the moodiness and everything, I like kind of that. I mean, I like the hard aspect and real rocking too, but it's like I also like the real atmospheric type music. Like a band I'm real into is a band called the Cocteau Twins, and they're on this label called 4AD, which is like all real experiment, not real moody and ethereal type music. And I like kind of the combo of the two. It's like my dream is for us to get more into that back into the keyboard thing, to where we have like the hard driving rhythm section and the nice guitars playing real neat things, and also have the keyboard, so it's like a big wall of sound type of thing.
Well, that makes an excellent combination. I like the Cocteau Twins a lot too, and I've noticed that Redmath does offer that you still have some of the keyboard things, and that it does make a special quality, because you can go off like on a special direction for a while, then come back to the main line.
Right. Well, and two, it's like Mike, you know, a lot, and Steve both, they're not just your guitar players where they just plug in and turn on their distortion boxes and play. They both use a lot of real neat effects and get real neat sounds that if you were hearing and didn't see them playing, you might think was a keyboard a lot of times. Like they experiment with sound a lot. I think that's the big thing about music. John Cage, I don't know if you know who John Cage is, but he's like this, you know, avant-garde composer, and he said that like back in the 30s or something, he said music's going to go through this big, what's the word I'm looking for, I guess revolution in rhythm first, which we've already kind of hit, and we've been in like the last 10 years or so, or like actually the last 20 or 30 years of real rhythmic and people experimenting with different rhythmic ideas, and then after that it's going to go into sound. So which is where we're, like in the last 4 or 5 years that we've been, like music as a whole has been getting more into sound. And you know, the more experimentation with that I think is great. You know, I really respect bands and really like our band to have sound. I want like all the sounds we have to be new. It's not like something you've heard before. I'm not talking about in the songwriting itself, I'm talking about in the sounds the instruments are producing. You know, like this real distinct sound is what makes Cocteau Twins so neat, because they're playing guitars, they're just playing guitar, bass, and drums, but it's like so the sounds that they choose, you know, they spend hours on working on their sounds as opposed to just the writing and songwriting, so it's a whole, you know, process. It's a real neat thing. It's real ethereal. So.
Well, that's one thing we've all noticed about Redmath since we've started listening to Redmath over the last few years, that there's been an evolution in different directions, and some of the first songs that Redmath have done are still very wonderful today, but also a lot of the new things you're doing are great. They're different, but they're really super.
Yeah, I agree. And again, with like Paul's vocals, that's another thing I should have mentioned too, is like Paul's got such a distinct voice. I mean, I don't know, I can't think of any singer that even sounds remotely like Paul. And he's got that real droning, kind of brooding quality, which adds more to that whole thing I was talking about before, that ethereal, distinct sound, you know? It's like, I mean, I guess you could classify Redmath as kind of I mean, we've got kind of pop flavor to us in one way, but it's like a distinct pop flavor. See, Steve and I are the big pop music heads in the band. We like probably pop music more than everybody else in the band. But it's like we don't like generic pop music. Like a lot of pop music's got a real, like over here in America for some reason, and the difference between England and America is, in England, pop music is not thought of as such as a dirty word. Like people over here, when they think of pop music, they think of top 40, which to me is a dirty word. But pop music, like the word pop it's just a different, like the way they look at it in England as opposed to the way the average public looks at it over here is real different.
It almost seems like over here it's more homogenized, where a lot of it sounds the same no matter who does it, where over there it might be popular with different people, but it's true, it's not repetitive, it tends to be different and unique, and you have a lot of different unique things that make up popular music.
Right, yeah, it's much more connoisseurs type music over there. Again, like, I'm not trying to, God, if the Cocktail Twins were here right now, they'd probably be patting me in the back, but like it was so neat a few years ago, like when like Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA album was out and everything, that was #1 over here obviously, but also in London, on their top 10 Billboard album charts, Born in the USA was #1, but also the album called Treasure by the Cocktail Twins was #1, which is so incredible because over here you would never see Cocktail Twins being a #1 album.
You don't hear of them really on the
Yeah,
chart.
I mean it's a real alternative thing, where over there it's more mainstream because the whole idea is more connoisseur
Totally
over
different.
there. It's really neat. So that's why I think my dream again is to get Redmath over in London or Europe somewhere. I think we'd be really appreciative over there. I'd love to go there and do stuff over there, then come back over here.
That would be really amazing. You mentioned Jimi Hendrix earlier, and that's exactly what happened to him in the late 60s. He was tried out in the United States. He's an American, and he got no recognition or no play at all, so he went to Europe, and the minute he hit London, people went crazy over him. They loved his music, and he and Noel Redding and...
Yeah, they did. Didn't he like go over there and then like got real big over there
And
and
then
then came back?
Americans
Right.
begged him to come
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, that's
Ebony
that's-
Magazine did a big special on him, and he was a cult hero in England, and after he achieved all the notoriety and fame and success, then he came back to the United States, where people were ready for him then and really appreciated what he was doing.
Right, that's true. I even like a band, I'm not wild with these guys or anything, but like the Stray Cats, like a few years ago, like back in '83, '84, when like the whole new wave thing was real early and everything over here, they even did the same thing. They went over to London first and then got real recognized over there. And then the reason is because I read an interview, and I can't remember who it was with. It was an interview magazine with a English pop star, and I'm trying to think who it was, but I can't remember. But like, for instance, like he was saying that he kind of understand how anybody gets big over here, because for instance, you could be the biggest thing that Boston's ever seen, like huge, but somebody in like Cincinnati would never even heard of you. Whereas opposed to where if you're big in London, which is still about the same size, that way, then you're big in a whole country, so it's much more of a stronger
Centralized.
effect. Yeah.
That's a good point. So you really have some regional consideration in
Right.
music here too.
Right. Exactly.
Well, we'd like to see you be able to leave Cincinnati and go on a tour too, and achieve quite a bit, because you've got a lot of wonderful music to give to other people. It would be great to see you be able to do a European tour, and even play New York and Toronto and a couple of the Canadian cities too.
Yeah, I think that'd be the best thing. It's like I said, when we went to New York last year, I mean, a lot of people were just like, they were telling us they'd never heard music like this before. And, I think we've got a lot to offer a lot of other cities, Redmath is not really, it's not like our roots are in Cincinnati or anything. I mean, we're all coincidentally from Cincinnati, but we don't have this Midwest. Like Midwest has this real Midwest. Most bands from Cincinnati have this real kind of Midwestern sound, a band like the Raisins and stuff like that. I mean, it's not bad or anything. I'm not like downing it at all, but it's a real
Quite common.
distinct, yeah, it's real common and a distinct sound. Where like bands like us, like Redmath, has I think we have more of a universal type sound. It's not really pigeonholed to one particular city or anything like that. You know, you hear bands like, this is the Boston sound, or this is the New York sound, or this is the LA sound. I don't think Redmath, you can really pigeonhole into any of those categories. It's a real universal type sound, I think.
I couldn't agree better. A lot of your songs are about love and about feelings and about living.
Right.
And those are things that are important no matter where you live.
Right, exactly.
Well, Chris, thanks a lot for being with us.
Well, thank you. And
Not much.
Love to find it.
Peggy, I like your place a lot. It's really neat.
Oh, thanks, baby. There's a whole upstairs too. Just really love it.
Sure enough. You want to talk to the woman? Okay. Hey, woman.
Is that my boy?
I'm surprised.
Hello. Jeffrey. Hi, cutie. How are you? What are you up to? We're doing a documentary on Redmath.
A docudrama.
So how was the piece today?
Hi. Abstract. I never really, when I draw, I never plan what I'm going to draw. Not, I mean, in a case like this I would, but in like these, I just start drawing and it becomes something.
Did you take any lessons? Art lessons?
I majored in art in high school.
That was it? You really have gone far.
I've
Just
done,
taking art in high school.
huh?
You've really gone far. I mean, just taking art in high school, that's great.
I took like a quarter at a branch college at Raymond Walters.
That's where
Well, I
Greg
did-
Blanton went.
I didn't like the instructor. I mean, I didn't like the structure, rather. I didn't like having to do a style of painting that I didn't have any interest in, you know?
Yeah, I can
God, the house is really pitted out. I hated that this is being
It looks
immortalized.
very
And he turned out to be a great guy. He was from Connecticut, but she kind of balanced us.
Was it?
Lakota.
Look at it.
Yeah. It was weird too, because I went to vocational schools, so I met her there. She was in the postgraduate nursing program.
Oh, your mom and dad. Well, Paul, I don't think you look like either one of them.
I don't, do I?
No, I don't think so.
And this
You
is
think so, Scott? Can I pick it up?
yeah. Sounds like I got a speaker cut
I gotta run out and get another battery. I'm glad I brought it.
You should have named him Fluffy, Paul.
Afraid not, Mike.
What is his name? I forgot.
Skippy.
Butch.
Butch, that's right, Skippy.
That's a peanut butter, isn't it, Jennifer?
That's a spider.
Skippy the spider's down in the kitchen.
This guy at work brought his bulldog. He's got a puppy bulldog in. It's like a show dog.
Oh, I don't like
Oh,
that.
so cute. It was
That's
real
right.
fat. And when it
Okay.
ran, its all its skin shook at a real fat little face. It was really cute. His name is
What was it, a Sharpei?
Armstrong, yeah. No, it's a bulldog. I guess just a regular standard
I
bulldog.
don't care much for this. This one
Oh,
guy
it was
came
really
into our
cute.
work
You saw it
today.
like a brown spot, a black spot over one eye. It was
Oh, really?
great.
This is sound like a bulldog.
Yeah, real flat face, real short.
Yeah, because there's one kind of has like a circle around their eye.
Yeah.
I can't, like Buster Brown or something. That's a bulldog.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right about that. This guy came in today. He had 2 white Pyrenees in his car. They were big dogs.
What do they look like?
They're giant white dogs, kind of short hair, kind of long face, real pretty. Like people's favorite.
Yeah, you should have a happy dog.
Wasn't it you that when we first got him, you thought he was like overly depressed or something?
Mike.
Really? Why? What
You're
happened?
like, he doesn't act like a normal little
Well,
dog.
it was too quiet or something was happening. Parked it down at the bottom of the driveway away from our tree. What did he do now? We had that great big tree in the front yard. Yeah. His car was parked in the pier and he put it down in the back yard. I do, because sometimes when it's a storm, the branches fall. Yeah. Remember that big tree we had in the backyard, Scott?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I guess they're kind of like gelatin based.
Tattoo.
Tattoo you.
I got some at home, Jennifer. Why don't you put one on you? Just for fun.
Put a little
Oh, you got
bug
some
crawling up
numbers?
your thigh.
Yeah.
Or away from it.
Oh boy, that sounds fun.
What?
Got a little bug crawling away from my thigh.
Uh-huh.
I like this one, the little apple.
Giant crab. Huh. Yeah, it's real cute.
Or it could be a cherry. We could put it somewhere. Wild Kingdom.
Hi, gorgeous. Come in. Well, you all are gorgeous. Your house, and you put the peace sign on his head. There isn't a peace sign tattoo, is there? That'll get him.
There's a little smiley.
That's there. I don't like that.
I like this.
Yeah, that goes on good.
What would terrify Myra?
Yes,
Ooh,
Skull
Deadhead.
flame.
What?
deadhead. Sort of deadhead. Kind of deadhead. George says what?
You really need another person to ask the questions while you operate the...
I usually have Nancy do that. If you don't mind her being up here, I can do that.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay, good. Paul, you've been singing with Redmath for a number of years now, since they were first formed.
Well, not actually.
Oh, really?
No. They were together about a year before I joined. Mike was the lead singer first. And then I started going to see him when my band prior to Redmath was kind of crumbling. I was going to see the band a lot. And I was hearing all these harmonies in my head that I wanted to add on to his vocals. And my goal wasn't to go in and become the front man. You know, I wanted to just kind of be this background.
Just to add another element that would...
Ooh and ah, you know, and add the harmonic layer to it. And it was weird. It started out that way, and I just was really doing a couple of songs with them. And then I was at their practices all the time, and it just happened. I started integrating into the songs or becoming the primary melody writer, and then Mike started making harmonies behind me. So then now it turns out he doesn't hardly sing with me that much at all.
So something just sort of happened once you started playing with them.
Yeah, it evolved that way, and the consensus, I think, was that I was the more flashy front person type anyways. And Mike really wanted to get into playing his guitar more, you know, being able to do leads and concentrate on that. Because I understand that I don't play guitar, but he always said it was really hard to sing and play at the same time.
That would make sense. So really you added a whole new element to Redmath.
Yeah, besides that, the steel guitar gave it kind of a twang, like an organic. I played it mostly on the bulkier stuff, acoustic stuff, and then kind of changed into a more percussive. I use it now mostly like just for accent on beats and stuff. I'll just go whomp, you know, with the lower strings, and I don't really forefront the steel that much anymore.
So it really works good with the bass and the drums too, doesn't it?
As a percussion type of instrument, yeah. I also use the high strings, like I'll go, you know, almost that kind of a Western, you know, type of sound.
What was the
I'll
kind
do
of
that
sound
with the
you
high
heard?
strings. I don't know if people really hear them that much though, but I try to keep something going on all the time with the percussive aspect of the steel, because the more rock and roll or danceable songs we do don't really lend themselves to you know, the slide twang sound, the more country sound of the steel. I guess maybe I could work on reinterpreting that into the music, but
Well, one of the exciting things about your music, though, is that you have a variety of music. You have fast and slow music, you have danceable music, and music to sort of drift with or to take a head trip with, just to go off and imagine.
my favorite bands do that. They're not necessarily current. What's the problem with current music that I see is that when the bands get signed onto a label, that I think the record companies try to encourage them to kind of be able to fit in a musical style slot. You know what I mean? And be sure to be consistent, you know, throughout the whole album. But the best thing about music, I thought, from the 60s and 70s was that bands were willing to, or the record companies were allowing the bands to stretch their horizons on either end of the spectrum. And you get kind of more of that epic album, you know, out of that. And I would like to be able to do that and get the blessing of a record company at the same time. But that was one wall that we kind of ran into in corresponding with record execs. They didn't know where to classify us.
So at this point, you're not making music just for sale or sell with music, but you're making music that really, that you feel expresses you as a group.
Yeah, definitely. I think we made sort of a small effort in the past year or so to consciously think as far as marketing, you know, not to totally sell out and become a packaged style of music, you know, but to kind of weave a common thread through what we do live anyways, you know. We don't get quite as eclectic in concert, you know, anymore as we used to. If it's a big show, we don't.
I've noticed if you have a big show, you do very few songs from your original album and then some from your second album, and then you're also introducing new material too that we hear occasionally.
We're mostly trying to do the new stuff and things from the past years. If it's a shorter show, if we're like opening for a bigger act or whatever, we try to condense it out of the stuff that we've written more recently to kind of hit people with what we currently are. I'd like to be able to do the older stuff too, but we could probably be playing for 4 hours if we did it all. You know what I mean?
Well, you seem to have a special following here in town, almost a cult following. Do you feel that these are people that have been with you since you first played together, or are they perhaps people that have come to you as they've discovered your music or discovered your more recent music?
I think our following has changed. It's kind of evolved into a different group of people. When I first started with the band, I felt that we had a little bit more of an intellectual group, you know what I mean? Like, we'd play for art openings at galleries and stuff, and we'd get that kind of, you know, we'd get college professors there, and the people that want to think and dance at the same time, you know. But I don't know, it seems like because of our broadening popularity, it's gone out to the suburbs. Let him get it out of his system. Because of our broadening popularity, it's gone out to the suburbs where the kids are, and then, you know, know how that is in the high schools. It's like Redmath, you know, it becomes like a little cult thing in the high school scene. I feel like we have a younger, less weathered crowd now that follows us. So I don't know if they even know why they like us. And that kind of bothers me a little bit, you know what I mean? And then say the old bunch comes to one of our shows and they're like, what are all these kids doing here, you know? Or, you know, they don't want to hang out with a bunch of teenage kids. So it
really
becomes kind of a struggle, a battle of you know, the focus gets off of the music and onto like the scene or the, that's the problem with sticking in your own town too long, you know. If we were touring in a different city every night, they wouldn't get a chance to decide for us what following we had.
How did the people in New York feel about you when you went and played New York last summer?
We were really well received by the audience and everything. The band that played after us were real jerks. They thought they had us pigeonholed. You know, when they went on stage, they thanked what band did they say? Uriah Heep or something like that? No. Iron
Maiden.
Iron Butterfly. That's who it was. They said, we'd like to thank Iron Butterfly for opening for us. I was like, well, that's not really a put down to me, but it's so off the base, you know what I mean? It was kind of a really retarded comment.
Yeah,
and the audience just kind of stood there. They didn't understand what was going on. The sets were running behind time, and they had a big grudge on over that. So they were taking it out on us. And also, when they went on, this British weekly show was interviewing me off stage, and they hated that, you know, because they zoomed up to the stage on right in front of me on our last song, and with the lights and the camera and everything. Out of the blue, I was like, what the hell, what's going on here, you know? But we got off stage, and they wanted to interview me for their program. And I don't remember what the name of this, Wired was the name of the show.
Well, I have a feeling the people in Europe would be very wired if they heard more of Redmath.
I think certain cities and like in France, and I heard we were played in Germany for a while from the first album. And but see, there hasn't really been the promotional follow-up on that.
So that's still a possibility that in the near future even you could get airplay in Europe, and also in different areas of North America like Toronto, maybe Montreal, New York, Boston, some of the coastal areas, San Francisco and LA, and you might pick up a lot of listenership in those areas.
I'd love it.
You've just brought out your album Pray, that took quite a while to do. Now that seems to have a representation of music that evolved over at least a year's, maybe longer period.
Yeah, that really contributed to the eclectic quality of the album, which was could be considered good or bad. In one sense, that, you know, in my opinion, in producing the album, it kind of jumps from one mood to the other. There isn't really the flow, but it's almost like has the feeling that you get from an album of collaborations of say a group's best of, you know, the best of or whatever. It was kind of like the best of Redmath from '84 to it came out in we started on it in '85, I think, '85 to '88. You know, a 3-year span. So
well, that's interesting because since then Gino Valli's left the band, and you've also acquired a drummer, and so it seems like your music's again changed, not only as far as the musicians and instruments go, but also the direction the music's taken. It seems to have a stronger, more solid beat all the way through now.
yeah, I can't wait for the listeners that are familiar with the first album, like in the whole country. I mean, it did get out there. The first EP, we got letters from all over the country.
It was a very exciting album. It was very unusual, and it's not a kind of music that you can categorize and say, well, this is a certain kind of genre or family of new music. This is something very unique that's all to itself.
That was the best part of the response. I mean, I really liked that. That people, I felt that I could associate it to influences and stuff, but other people weren't picking up on any influences. They were saying this is totally fresh. And I really liked that coming back to us in letters and response, you know. And I wish this album could do that. The intention was for it to pick up where the other one left off, but we really need to have a follow-up record yet now for that album, for Pray.
Well, we couldn't agree more. Most listeners in town really love your music, that are into your music, and a new album would again show a whole new development you've had in your music.
I think after, like, if we got this next album out with the live drums and everything, I think people could then go back to Pray and appreciate the transitional quality of it more so. You know, right now they seem to fear that that's the end of the road as far as our progress, or, you know, how we evolve musically. And a lot of the people that give it any criticism that way at all have just heard the record but really don't come to see the band. You know, they think they've got it figured out and they'll see the same thing every time. And that's not true.
Well, there's a lot of magic that you weave when you play live to live audiences, and some of that is acoustic because you're there and you hear everything before it gets mixed down and homogenized in the studio. But another part of it, I think, is attributed to the amazing talent that all of you share within the band. And most of you, I understand, are also gifted visual artists as well as musicians in that art area. And you also have got quite a few talents, the people in the band. And it's amazing that all of you can work together and generate such a good symbiosis where you can put a lot of magic into this and come up with something even greater. Is that ever a problem for the people, or?
Well, what are you saying? That we're talented in other artistic realms, so that
right, I wondered if that
could
influences your music too, like in any way, like being really sensitive to visual arts and to different colors and patterns, and if those things affect how you do your music also.
It can sometimes get in the way. I mean, it would help if there were one genius in the visual arts field, and we all said, fine, great, good, whatever, you know, we'll take your word for it. We have differences in our tastes or whatever. I mean, since the focus is musical art, and that's excuse my dog. That doesn't come up all the time. So, you know, like if an album comes out or a poster or whatever, that then we have to sit around the round table and hash it out, you know. But it also really adds a nice dimension to us, being able to whip together a backdrop, or sometimes we'll have a conceptual show, say like around Halloween, and be able to use props and everything.
That's what strikes me so amazing about all of you. You're all very gifted outside of being musicians, and it seems that all of these special gifts work together to make a wonderful music. It must be difficult too, because all of you are unique and all have a lot of gifts to, as you just said, be able to work and agree on things, whether it's writing a song or a melody or doing the artwork that you were just talking about too.
It's handy. I mean, otherwise, you know, other bands have to hire out for an artist or a graphic designer for the album covers. I mean, we haven't had to do that yet. Both record covers came from within the band, the artwork, and all the print layout and everything. So, that's great.
Well, you've really done a wonderful job with the music. And I know when Gino Valley was with the band, he introduced a lot of keyboards and a lot of very introspective kind of melodies and other parts of the music that made a real interesting surprise when you hear the music. And I see some of that still there, even though Gino's gone now, but you've also gotten a stronger bass line and more percussion oriented, it seems. But it seems like it works out well. It's just a development in a new direction now.
I still really, myself, don't tell anybody else.
You won't tell a soul.
I miss the keyboards. I miss Gino as a person, but you know, he's my friend. I see him all the time.
Well, that's what's really good, is he's still your friend too.
But I would like to get a keyboard player. Gino has a lot of other things going on. I mean, he's really plunged full time into his artwork, and he works full time. So it really was too much for him. I mean, he had to decide what he wanted to commit himself to the most. And but I miss that element. I think keyboards can be really ambient. They don't have to be foreground to be important. I like that in the background or as a rhythm section, you know, where they're sequenced or whatever. I like that in conjunction with a really gritty, dirty guitar sound.
It makes a nice counterpoint,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
there's a lot of bands that pull that off great.
Paul, what about when you first started singing? Did you sing as a child?
I didn't think you were going to bring that up. Yeah, I started out like when I was this big in the church. I grew up just like they pushed me up there, and my sister and I did harmonies, and she played piano. She was 10 years old, I was 5, and we were kind of the child stage stars in our own church, and that just kept going till, you know, all the way through high school. I was in gospel quartets and toured around the Midwest with them, and it was a trip to do that and then be doing rock music, or whatever you want to call this, alternative music. That the stuff we do now has religious references, but more or less they're quizzical. You know,
They're asking questions more.
Yeah, they're questioning religion as a, you know, they're certainly, it's not like religious music promoting a certain doctrine or anything, but they're, I think a lot of our lyrics question why, what makes that work, why are we doing this to the world, why this and that, and then, you know, of course we have our just real bass songs that are bump and grind and love gone sour and I'm gonna get you, you bitch, you know.
Like Spit and some
Yeah.
of the others.
So we really cover a lot of different grounds with our lyrics. Steve kind of sticks to the more physical, whether it's lust or total depression and just gloom, you know, boredom in his lyrics. I hope he'd agree with that. I think that's pretty much true. And then the stuff I don't write that often as far as lyrics. I need to write more, but I have to be inspired greatly to sit down and be able to come up with a song's worth of poetry. But when I do it's pretty stream of consciousness, you know. I mean, catchy little 3-word phrases, you know what I mean, that kind of click off your tongue, you know.
Well, who wrote your title song, Pray?
Well, that's the neat part too, is that sometimes we collaborate. We can throw a verse in, you know, I'll contribute a verse or a chorus, and Steve will contribute a verse. He and I wrote the lyrics to that one. He had kind of the more cynical lyrics in the song, and I had kind of the pat phrases, the religious phrases that just kind of roll off the tongue in church, you know what I mean? But they work together. You know, you almost at some points in the song don't know whether it's actually sincerely telling you to pray, fast, obey. You know, that kind of stuff kind of comes from the lyrics I put into it, and then his are real cynical and kind of jeering.
But they work so well together.
Yeah, it's a real paradoxical song. It kind of takes a trip around the world of Christianity. You know, it trips around that whole, you know, it's kind of a mind-boggling song. It's 10 minutes long, and it's so complex the whole way through. It almost seems like a passage of some type, you know.
But then that's very interesting because it's sort of allegorical into what it came from, which is references to the Bible and to organized religion or traditional Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of things do you like to do in addition to your music? What are some of the other interests you have in life?
Well, I like to sit around and think a lot. I like to yell at my dog.
You've also done some wonderful visual art too, some paintings and designs.
Yeah, I was hesitant to bring that up though because I feel guilty for not doing that more in the recent past. I do some interesting portraiture work that I use multi-mediums with, you know, spray paint and pencil and acrylics. You know, I do portraits, and I do kind of the stream of consciousness drawings, and I used to do all kinds of different art, you know, pottery and weavings and stuff. But I neglected to get myself into that.
Well, it sounds like you lead a very busy life just with the activities you have with the band and the music, and also earning a living and existing and doing other things.
Oh yeah. Also, I do like hair and makeup for TV commercials locally. I work with this local agency.
Is it fun transforming people, like taking somebody that looks a certain way, and then through cosmetics and through what you're doing to them, making them look very different, like they're a different sort of person?
It's a blast. I'd love to do that pretty full time, at least part time. Once a week, I'd like to be able to do an ad or a whole transformation photo session with someone. About ready to do one with this dog here.
Well, Paul, thank you very much. What do you see the future for Redmath being in the next few years? What would you like to see happen?
I'd like to be able to buy groceries with the money that we make from doing music and writing it. I'd like to get a record deal.
So that you have enough time then to really be involved and just completely immersed in it and live comfortably too.
Yeah, I'd like it to not be so much of a hobby, you know, just a labor of love as much as, you know, I'd like to be able to make a living doing that and nothing else, just like anyone else does, you know, making money for being a hairdresser, you know, people that do things they love.
Well, all of you have shown a wonderful dedication to the band and to your music, and it says something for all of you that you've been able to work together, especially with you, Mike, and Steve, the three members who have been with the band the longest.
You're gonna have to say that again.
Well, it certainly says something wonderful about you and the rest of the band members who have been able to work as long as you have and as dedicated with as much love as you have to make the music you're making and stay with that even though it's difficult to earn a living in spite of that.
Well, I've never been a quitter. I've never really quit anything. Even if I've had a dicky job that I didn't like, I always tended to do something that the boss would really not like, so that I would end up getting fired instead of quitting. I don't know what kind of neurosis that is, but I'm determined not to give up, you know. I'll just keep on keeping on, you know, till
Well, that's good.
till
I hope you
something
guys
happens.
keep on coming on until you can become very successful and people all over the world hear Redmath.
I do too.
Well, thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you. Hi, Mom.
Mike, you're one of the founding members of Redmath, you and Steve. Now, Paul's played quite a while with you too. Did you and Steve know each other originally, or had you played together for a while?
Yeah, we've known each other since high school. We played in some rock bands early in high school.
What kind of music did you play in high school? Led Zeppelin or?
Like heavy metal, just, you know, progressive rock type things. We were in the same class for a while before we even knew each other were musicians. And we met at a party one night where I was playing. I happened to have an extra guitar there. And so he picked it up and we started playing together. And so we started playing together in a band after that. And we've been playing ever since.
So that band was Redmath when we first started playing together?
No. Redmath is the end of a long series of bands.
So you were in a number of bands then before you played with Redmath?
Yeah. And there was a period in between there where I played in other bands without him. You know, rock bands and stuff.
So how did the two of you finally get back together to play together?
Well, we were kind of frustrated. I wasn't in a band, and neither was he. We were both trying to find something to do, and it was sort of out of desperation. We kind of joked about starting our own band, you know, jokingly at first, and then eventually it came together.
You guys first started playing, what, about 1982 or 83, something like that?
He and I together?
You formed Redmath.
Yeah, something like that.
Paul joined you, what, about a year after you started playing?
He joined us, I guess like January 2nd or 3rd, 1985, because his band, they played New Year's Eve, and the following day they broke up, and then he was immediately in our band.
Paul mentioned one of the reasons he was attracted to your band was because of the music you were playing, the kind and variety of music. He said he felt like what he did would work really well with it, and that seems to have been proven out just from all of you playing together since you've been together.
Yeah, it worked real good. The band that he was in was one of my favorite bands, so yeah.
So it worked out well because all of you liked each other's music.
Yeah.
A lot of people are amazed by the amount of talent that's in your band, not only musically, but also individual talents, art talents, talents in living and thinking and writing. And it just seems like there's a tremendous amount of good talent in your band.
Almost too much.
Does it ever make it difficult when you're making decisions about lyrics that you agree on or melodies that you write?
Yeah, it's always hard. I mean, because it's like, hey puppy! It's always like, there's too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes, but sometimes it's hard, but I think eventually that's good because it keeps things interesting. Like if one person has control all the time, or one person is the main creative force, things end up sounding the same, which is a problem that we kind of had before Paul joined the band. I wrote all the lyrics and I did all the singing and I did a lot of the songwriting, and things ended up always sounding the same. And when Paul got into the band, we started diversifying a little bit. We started becoming a little bit more interesting, more exciting, I think.
We started listening to you back right before you brought out your first album. And at that time, Paul Brook joined you guys as bass guitarist. Did he come along very long after Paul?
Actually, Paul Brook was in the band before Paul Stewart. Did Paul Stewart come very long after Paul Brook?
Yes.
Well, maybe a year. We've been playing, I guess, for a year with Paul Brook before Paul Stewart joined the band.
Have you noticed much difference in bass guitar since Paul Brook left the band?
Well, Paul Brook was really good in his own way, and so is Chris. They're different. I wouldn't say one's better than the other, but it is different. I think Chris works better with the band. He has a lot of his own ideas that he brings in. Where Paul was good, but he would kind of follow along with what we did. Whereas Chris has a lot of his own ideas, which are really good ideas.
So that gets back to what we said about all of you having input and different ideas, and then you can work through it. When you finally agree, you've got something really good that you're all happy with.
Yeah, and it's become easier too over the period of time that we've played together. We've learned how to deal with each other's different opinions and stuff, and how to sort of come to different compromises.
Do you like playing around the city a lot, or would you like to break loose and play other cities?
Well, I like to play, other places. It gets old playing in the same place all the time.
What keeps you going as far as being able to still play with the band and still work towards getting more play everywhere else and becoming more successful and popular? What drives you to that?
Well, it's like you feel like if you're going to do it, you might as well go for it.
So if you put a lot of energy into it, you might as well make it good and do it right.
Right. Plus, I think it's sort of an ego thing too. As much as you wouldn't want to admit that, I think a large percentage of being in a band to begin with is based on ego.
So you think it would be fun, say, if you were in a hotel in LA to see yourselves on MTV and go into a store maybe in New York City and see your album featured as one of the featured albums?
Oh yeah, who wouldn't like that? But it's like, ever since I've been playing guitar, it's sort of an addiction. It's like something I don't think I'd ever be able to quit doing. And aside from just playing guitar, playing with other people is a whole nother realm of that. And, it's something that you can't quit doing once you started doing it. And it's really hard for me to understand people who are in bands and play for a long time and then eventually just quit doing it, and then they don't even play their instrument for a long time. I just couldn't do that. I have to always be doing it.
So you like to play even when you're not playing in the group? You still like to practice? You like to play by yourself sometimes?
It's definitely a need.
Take a quick little break and turn down the hot.
It could be a vice, but
a good one.
It's definitely something I have to get out of my system. And I think it's a way to work out aggression sometimes too. If I feel really, uptight about something, if I play guitar for a while,
Relaxes you?
it's like riding a motorcycle. Sometimes I get real intense. I just hop on a bike and take a ride. It just kind of eases the tension.
Makes it a little bit better, doesn't it? I've noticed there's been a change too in the way Redmath puts a show together. Originally, you guys had sort of what some people thought was almost neo-Gothic influence. And then there was a lot of influence from when Gino was with you as to some of the set things you used and how you appeared on stage. And now I've seen other changes since the last album even in how you appear on stage.
Well, we've tried to become a little bit more exciting and a little less ethereal, if that's the word I want to use. Because I think we were getting to a point, where we were relying a lot on visual things and less on music. Even though the music was still good, it wasn't quite as exciting as it could have been. So we would sort of like play up the visual thing and not necessarily play up the music, whereas now I think we're trying to be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more aggressive.
So you can focus on the music more, and if you have any visuals, those are like nice trappings to go along with it.
Right.
To support what you do as an act. But you don't have to depend on them so much for effect or whatever.
Right. And, we'd like to go for more visual stuff on stage, but really we're not to the point where, we're playing large stages all the time, Whereas if we were, we could afford to have elaborate stage setups.
Well, it must take a lot of determination for the band to come together and be able to set up, because you set up for your own gigs, don't you?
Yeah.
And you have to bring your own equipment.
Yeah, we can't afford roadies yet.
And you design your own equipment and put up your own everything. So that must be a big job, because by the time you've got everything together, you've expended a lot of energy, and then you have to get pumped up and play well.
Yeah, it's hard because the last few times we've played the larger, place in town, I spent more time hanging up backdrops and everything than I did actually setting up my guitar gear. And it's like by the time I got all the backdrops up and everything, and had all that taken care of, I had, like 2 minutes to like get my guitar in tune and set up my amplifier and everything. So it's kind of hectic, but it's worth it.
Does it give you a good feeling when you play and you have a lot of fans there, a lot of them that have been with you for a while, and other people that have heard about you recently and come together, and you feel they're really getting off on the energy the band does?
Yeah. The crowd sort of turns over every year or so. There's very few people who've been around, for the duration. There are a few, but very few. Usually there's like a turnover every year or so. It's a different crowd. There's high and low points where the crowd will dip down, and then a bunch of new recruits will come in, and then we'll have a new crowd.
You have a lot of different influences in your music. What are some of the influences that you use when you write the music or when you feel the music? What are some of the things that you like to do? Other members have talked about how they're influenced by love and hate, and others by religion and by society. What are some of the things that you feel when you write a song or when you get into doing a song?
Well, I don't really try to bring those kind of things. I think more in terms of music and less in terms of ideas. I mean, I think I haven't been writing too many lyrics lately, which, will I guess separate me from what they were talking about. I mean, I think more in terms of the music, the actual music, which I don't relate to love or hate or anything like that. I just, I hear certain groups or certain sounds that I like, and I try to, incorporate what I like into what we play.
So what you can do really is if someone has some lyrics and you can get a feeling for what they want to do with that, and then you can take it from there and translate that into the rhythm and the pattern that you write with.
Yeah.
And how you play, the sound that comes out.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe if I'm feeling a little depressed or a little angry about something, I'll come up with a guitar part that's just real angry sounding. Or,
Well, we've noticed sometimes you have a lot of flash on guitar. You'll go into a song and do a certain piece, and you can tell you really get into it, and it sounds great, and suddenly you come out from the band, and I've noticed some of the other band members have that time also for them, when the harmony works really well together. Everybody harmonizes and they've got something going. There's a beat and a rhythm that's going along, and then suddenly you'll hear someone come out for a couple of moments and have this special thing that draws your attention, and they very smoothly go back into the band, and then later someone else will come out.
well, everybody has to have their own little highlighted parts, in the songs and things. But again, I don't really pay attention to the lyrics or anything. I mean, I know what they are, but a lot of times I don't even know what the lyrics are until after we've been playing the song for a while. And it's like, Paul, what are you singing in that song? It sounds like this, but what are you singing? And it's like a total surprise to me because I'm more interested in the musical end of it and how the music fits together and less about what he's actually saying.
Do you like to ride the music a lot? People have talked about riding the music when you really get into music, and you go along with a certain rhythm, and then when you hear different chords a lot of times, like you can drift along on a certain part of the music and then ride another part. And sometimes when people listen to music, they'll suddenly listen to a part of music they've never listened to before.
Well, yeah. Sometimes I don't really. Sometimes I pay more attention to what I'm playing than what other people are playing.
Do you ever improvise when you're playing? Like if you play a certain way, do you ever get to a certain point in the song and it sounds better suddenly to do it a certain way? And so
Yeah, we do that a lot. We all do. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. We've been doing that especially more lately. It just depends on the mood of the evening. Sometimes if things are going really well and everything's clicking really well, you can all of a sudden start going off in a different direction, and it'll work. But then other times you try to improvise, and it just doesn't work at all. So it just depends on the mood of the evening or whatever.
When you're up on the stage, how do you concentrate on the music? Because a lot of people might say, well, I'd have stage fright because there's all of those people out there before me, or they might be worried about some of the other things, like the technical parts of the production.
Well, the crowd never really bothers me. The only thing that bothers me sometimes is if the sound is really bad or things sound odd to me. And I know that they sound bad, or I feel that they sound bad to the audience. I kind of get an attitude sometimes, which is bad. I mean, you're supposed to ignore that and just do the best you can, but sometimes you can't help it, cop an attitude because you think that it sounds bad.
That makes sense. You don't want to see it continue because you're putting a lot of good into it and you don't want to see it turn out to not be
You
that
sort
way.
of feel embarrassed sometimes, but that's not very often that happens. But it happens to everybody.
What are some of the things that influence you and how you feel about life?
I don't know. That's a funny question.
I know you're interested in Egyptology and the Egyptians and some of the other cultures.
Well, I like history in general, particularly ancient history. Not necessarily just Egyptians. I mean, I like them pretty much because I think it's the greatest civilization that there's ever been and ever will be. But I'm just interested in history in general. Just things that have happened and how people have dealt with each other and that kind of thing.
But you wonder sometimes when you think about like the American Indians and even the ancient American Indians and the Mayan civilizations and the Egyptians, how all those people dealt with each other, some of the things they did compared to how we live today. It must be kind of strange when you think about that.
Well, yeah, it almost seems like sometimes that it would be better then than it is now, because particularly American Indians, because it was so, for the longest time, it was so, how to say,
-1. Okay, ready? Of course you're ready. Mike, is it ever scary being the lead guitar, being the person that's got to be out on the front?
Not really. It is sometimes, you worry about things like chords screwing up, technical failures. Sometimes things don't work the way they're supposed to, or technical problems.
Well, your guitar work always stands out very clearly, and I think you're one of the best guitarists in the entire area.
Well, I like to think so.
I
don't necessarily think that's true, but I'd like to think it's true.
Good, because I think so.
That's good.
You guys are hot, and you do an excellent job of leading the band when you do your lead guitar work. You write a lot of the music too, don't you? The melodies.
Well, we all take a hand in it. I mean, we all write our own parts. A lot of songs, one person will come up with an idea, which is basically the root part of the song, and then we'll elaborate off that to come up with the other parts. But we all basically write our own parts.
Do you almost feel like a family sometimes since you've all played together so long? You get together for practices and parties and things.
Oh, very much so. I mean, it's definitely become that way, especially with Steve, Paul, and I, because we've been together so long, and even Chris. I mean, he's only been with us for a short time, a little over a year, but he's fit in with us real well, and I think he's become part of us also.
He really seems that way too. I was curious when he first started playing with how he'd fit in and if he'd work out well or not, and it really seems like he's one of you guys now, and he really fits in well, and he's smooth with you, and you guys all interact really well together.
Yeah, I think it's important too that we're all good friends as well as we, co-workers, if that's the word I want to use. And it's strange that he did fit in as well as he did because of the odds of that are really. I mean, it's really hard to find somebody who can work out with the band as well as fitting in with you personally, just hanging out and stuff.
How did you feel when Gino left, and then later when Redmath acquired a drummer?
Well, I think it was the best thing for both, for he and the band, because he was wanting to pursue other things. We were each going a different direction. We wanted to get a drummer and become a little bit more aggressive, and he didn't really want to do that. He wanted to do his own thing.
Well, he seems like one of the people that was real instrumental in developing that ethereal quality, and I think that you've still got some of that, but I think he's gotten almost an ethereal space music kind of thing, where if he were going off in his own direction, he might do a lot of synthesizer work on his own or something like that.
Yeah, it's
something
exactly
like you'd hear
what
music on the Hearts of Space or that sort of music.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
You guys have taken a new line now, and you've gotten more aggressive, like you said, and you've gotten more bass, more rhythm now, and you've got a more forceful sound. It's really amazing because your album Pray has only been out now for how long?
6 or 8 months.
And yet the music you've gotten now is so different even from when you did Pray that it would be hard for anyone to imagine you if they just heard Pray and thought that was Redmath. They'd be so wrong from where you guys are now even.
Well, even when the album came out, we were a lot different. It just took a long time to finish the record, and it was sort of unfortunate that it took so long to put the record out because we sounded completely different by the time it did come out.
But isn't that hard when you're producing your own album and you're working all the time and you've got to work other jobs and things too to survive? And
Yeah. Plus there was constant delays with production time and money, and it was just something that we really couldn't control.
you've done an amazing job. I understand, Mike, that you've done a lot of the backdrops and a lot of the things that you use, and you are a very talented artist. Do you enjoy doing that a lot, visual art?
Yeah, it's basically money, right now. And I enjoy it too, and it beats working for a living.
So you don't really consider it work then as far as just a drudge or a thing where you exchange your activity for money. It's more of something you really enjoy doing, plus you get paid for it, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's a great thing to get paid for doing. It is definitely work, and it does become a drudge sometimes, but I'd rather be doing that than a lot of other things.
It seems like you've got a certain sense of humor too in a lot of the artistic things you do and a lot of the visual arts. I saw a sculpture you made for your brother once as a gift with an exploding popcorn head.
Well, that's more my own art, my own thing. What I do for money is pretty straight, boring type stuff.
But I like the art you do is for yourself. That seems like it's got a special quality. There's two sides to it. There's like kind of a sensational and real exciting side where it's something unexpected, and then there's also sort of a darker side too that I see in some of your paintings where it's provoking because you wonder about what's going on and you provoke people to where they think about what's happening in that painting.
Well, yeah, I like humorous stuff, but I also have a dark side. I think a lot of humor is dark. The kind of humor I like is sort of dark and a little bit twisted because, that's reality, that's life. A lot of things are dark and twisted whether people want to realize it or not.
So you're just saying it's out in the open.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to hide anything. I want to tell it like it is.
Well, you guys do an amazing job. We just hope that you have a lot of success and you can go on and develop a much greater listenership.
Me too.
Want to talk about anything else?
Are you really going to go down there?
If you want to.
You have that on right now?
If you want to.
It's so much bigger than
I said you have that on right now. I'm going to ask another question because, I just can't ramble on.
Oh, no, you're not rambling on.
We don't watch you, so you can't watch us.
What's it like to be a rock star's girlfriend?
That's right. We want to hear about the intimate
It's really
details.
embarrassing, and especially when people ask you that question.
Is it exciting though, just having a musician?
I don't like it.
You don't like it at all?
Do you hate dividing your...
He's not a rock star. He's just, he's just a person. I don't consider him a rock star.
So really,
But
Mike's
you
just Mike
divided
to
your
you.
time with him and his public.
Hey, I divide my time with me and my public.
So
That's
you
true,
I divide my
Jennifer.
time with him and his public.
We understand that you're an artist and that you've got a lot of fans for your cards and the design work you do.
My cards, no.
No.
No. Not the stuff I've been doing lately, no. This is funny.
Nancy,
Come on, ask.
did you tell Jennifer about what Joe Webb wanted to do for greeting cards?
Oh, Jennifer, did I tell you what Joe Webb wants to do for greeting cards?
No, you didn't tell me.
Would you like to know who Joe Webb is?
No, yeah, go, yeah. Say it fast, quick.
Let's see, he's a designer,
Right.
is that correct? And an architect. He wants new cards.
New cards?
Yes.
No, go ahead, Nancy. Talk about the penis cards. They're not
Oh,
just
right.
nude cards.
Yes, he wants penis cards.
They're talking penises that do different things.
Oh,
They
right.
hang over car doors and talk to each other and stuff.
You know, I heard that conversation, but I really can't remember everything
Do you
that
really
he said.
think
Hey,
that-
you know, this is
It
a
did
really good
affect me.
cards I've heard about. Like this one person had this idea for a card. Actually, she carried it out. She did a Christmas card, and it was all hot dogs. And they did a manger scene of like hot dogs. And then they did like people with like hot dog wigs on. It was great. It was a really good idea, and I told her she should send it to a greeting card company because that could be like big time, you know?
Do you think she will?
No, she won't. She's not that kind of person.
Do you think
Just
your
follow
company
through on her
would be
ideas.
interested in doing cards for this person?
I hate it. I hate it. A little break in the scene, you know?
There you go.
Jennifer just said you can look at this when you're 50 or 60.
Yeah, and be like really embarrassed.
She lives that long.
Mike opened the door up, put more light on it. Okay, that's all torment you got.
All right, good.
Having a little bit of the weight up through here
And then
through
narrow
here.
at the bottom.
And then narrow through here.
Oh.
Well,
But sometimes you can't do that, you know, like even through exercise.
if you do all this intense abdominal exercising, you'll build up those muscles under there, but you also have to like starve yourself too
Yeah.
to lose fat.
You know what
No, you
though?
don't have to starve. She just hangs out. Her name is Regina. I heard.
That's a cool hat she's got on.
A friend of ours made that. He's in the paper, like origami and stuff.
Oh, that's a neat thing. That head fooled me when I first saw it, Paul. When I
That's
knocked
what I
on,
used in hair school.
well, I didn't know. See, I knocked on the door and I looked up and I saw that person, and it looked like a